Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome on into the fifth episode of the Otaku Mode podcast. Today we've got a great show for you. We've actually got a guest, which myself and Hayley have been wanting to have on since the start of the show. Actually, this is something that we've been looking forward to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on in and introduce ourselves. I'm Adrian, the host, along with my other host, Hayley. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm really excited for this episode and looking forward to talking with our guests.
Yep. And then we've got our guest, Massiel. How you doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
There we go. Yeah. We're going to keep this relatively short. We've only got, we keep it a tight 60 here, just because, we want to make sure that you all enjoy the show and we get to the meat and potatoes as fast as possible. Although this is sounding very rehearsed right now. Massiel, how?
Promise you, it's not.
Is a translator here at Tokyo Otaku Mode, but yeah, could you give us just a little bit of like a brief introduction about yourself, or what you do here at Tom and how you came to be at Tom?
Sure. If you guys have been at Tom for a while, you may have seen me. I was the interpreter at our panel at AX a few years ago, and I've just been around and about. So I am a translator for Tom's translation team. We mostly focus on manga, but we do pretty much anything that we need. Yeah, I've been at Tom for like 8 years now, something ridiculous like that. Yeah, originally it was just I was working in travel, for travel translations, and I was a bit sick of that. And it was just really good timing on my part, when I was looking for jobs, because I found the Tom wanted ad essentially and applied, and as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah. This is gonna sound kind of. Where did you find your Tom Wanted ad? Mine was on Gaijin Pot.
Yeah,
Through a friend.
mine was also on Gaijin Pod, I believe.
Okay. Because I think we've all been here for around similar time. So I've been 8 years as well. Hayley, you've also been. Is it 8 or is it?
I think I'm coming on like 7, 8 at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because
Like we're.
Adrian, you were just a little bit before me, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Like we're almost teenagers here at Tom. Like
Mhm.
2 or 3 more years, we'll be teens, which means we can cause chaos.
Very good.
Let's
Rebellion time.
see if they can get us.
That may or may not be a good thing, and I already have one. So, so yeah, you've been doing translation here at Tom, and you've been doing it ever since you've gotten into Tom. But like, what got you into translating specifically? Because I've never asked. I just know you as a translator.
Yeah, so I don't have a very typical route into translation. So I originally started doing just like fan translations and like casual translations as part of my Japanese studies,
Okay.
like on the side and things like that. And then I truly just fell into it. This is going to sound very odd, but when I was in graduate school, I was like just waiting on a bench for a friend of mine to finish classes. And a
Mm-hmm.
guy comes up to us and he was like, "Hey, I'm starting a new company and we're looking for interns." And he just hands us a business card and we're like, "Sure." Well, the one friend I was with, she was like, "This is creepy. I'm not going to do it." And I'm like, "I need a job." And thankfully, like, it wasn't a sketchy job. He really was just looking for like interns. And he specifically chose our graduate school because there was a lot of foreign students who know Japanese there.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a startup for it was a travel company I mentioned. So he was looking for people to translate articles from Japanese into English. And, I had already been doing that as part of a hobby. Um, so, I kind of honed my skills there for a few years. And then the problem with travel and travel information is that it's all basically the same. So it got really boring after a few years. And
Hmm.
I was looking for something new, and then I just ended up at Tom. Yeah, I've not formally trained or anything like that. Everything I learned has been just,
It's like on the job. Just
yeah, hands on.
yeah. Like I've always because
Fun fact, I also worked for that company for a little bit doing
wait,
translation.
is that how you know each other? I don't even know
We
this
know each,
No,
backstory.
I know we know each other from graduate school. It's the same
yeah,
company.
Oh,
from
okay,
graduate
okay.
school. So
I was like, Was that the link? It's part of the link, but yeah, because like I used to do construction. Well, I didn't do construction work, but I worked at a construction company, and I was hired for translation as well. And it was very like it was a lot of engineering terms and just construction terminology. But once you kind of did it, it was like the same every day. Like it
Yeah.
didn't change because the tasks were the same, right? And I imagine, like you said, it was the same for you. It did get kind of boring, but now you do translation for. Is it mainly just? I almost said manga. Holy moly!
Oh,
For manga.
Yeah, the mangas. Yeah, no, yeah, so we here at the Tom Translation team, the way it works is we don't necessarily get to choose what we are working on. It's what our clients send in. The majority of it is manga. But we also do like instruction manuals for like not just action figures, but also like figure kits.
like
We
the plastic
do,
model kits?
yeah, like plastic model kits.
Okay.
We do like advertisements. Occasionally we get business contracts, which is wild because I'm like, you're just handing these to us. In that case, we do usually like we have somebody on the legal team check it out to make sure we're not just completely making stuff up. Yeah, like so we'll do pretty much anything that gets sent to us, but manga is our bread and butter.
In terms of manga, do you have any notable works that you've translated that people might know or have heard
Um,
of?
s- so my absolute favorite that I've done is it's a BL called Double. It's won a few awards actually here in Japan, and
Nice.
it's about a two men who are actors, one of whom is basically a savant, and the other one who has to essentially take care of him. And it is like I studied theater in undergrad. So it's everything I love because I get to put theater together. It's manga. The art is incredible. It's a very dynamic, very sketchy kind of cool art style. Highly recommend even if you're not into BL honestly because it's just a really great story.
Okay. And I think BL is also just a genre that has. I know when I went back to the States last year or the year before last, there was a larger section than previously in the past. 10 years
Yeah.
or 15, 10 years
Yeah,
ago or
it's
something.
it's definitely been gaining popularity.
We've a lot of what we get now to translate as BL, which, I'm not complaining.
I mean, like I think as long as the stories are good, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Genre per se. I know that a lot of myself. I've read a lot of shonen manga, and then there's occasional like Yuri anime that I've watched, and then I know I've been like really requested to watch like Given. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
and I was trying to watch it, but at that time there was just it had rotated off a lot of the streaming services that I had paid for. But now there has to be one that I can like watch it on because it's pretty well known, and I like band stuff too. So
Yeah, it's a bit confusing in Japan trying to figure out which anime is on what because it's not like, it's not like in the US where you have Crunchyroll or Netflix.
which I used to think was the more difficult thing is being in the US because everything was split up at one point.
Mhm.
But now it's more consolidated, which makes it a little bit more easier. And in Japan
Right.
now it is on, 6, 7 different streaming services,
Right.
which you may or may not get one of them. But yeah, moving on just a little bit about translation. What do you find like fun about translation and what's difficult about it?
It's kind of the same thing in that like for me I find it to be a puzzle.
Hmm.
And so that's like really fun for me. I really enjoy, trying to come up with what is the equivalent of this? How do I get the meaning across?
Hmm.
But then, especially when it comes to either very specific like jargon or with, oh God, jokes especially, it's like, then it's hard. Sometimes
Mm.
I just have to like walk away from my computer, go pet the dog, just because I will look at a thing and it's just like, this is completely untranslatable in any way that makes any sense. But, then coming up with something that I think is appropriate or something that's funny, like like that satisfaction, kind of like when you find that jigsaw puzzle piece that's been hiding and it's like, oh, it finally fits. It's like that's satisfaction.
Mm.
Even though I've just spent the last hour tearing my hair out over it as well.
And speaking of, do you tend to lean towards, like in your translating style, do you tend to lean more towards like localization or like direct translation, or does it depend on the project?
It really like, the thing with translation is that it's really both. There's some things that you're just automatically going to translate, like, straight. For example, like, when somebody's like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" You're gonna translate that.
Yeah.
There's no reason to change it, for example. But, like, jokes, if I translate them and not localize them, it's not gonna make any sense, especially, like, if it's a pun or something like that. There was one manga I had where the characters were playing shiritori, which is a game. It's a word game where you have to start the next word with the final syllable of the previous word. I cannot translate that straight. So what I did for that, for example, was I tried to get words of the same genre that they were using, especially because they were students, and after a while, it moves from the standard words like car and banana to like words they were learning, like, in history class and science class. So,
Hmm.
instead of like, and that was the joke, they were, like, getting kind of ridiculous with it. But, obviously, like, those words are not going to translate straight, and they weren't gonna fit in the game. So, instead, I just picked other history, other science terms that would fit the situation, but wasn't a straight translation, So, that kinda thing. It really like, you have to use both, or else you're not going to come up with a translation that makes any kind of sense.
I'm thinking about that in terms of like how I've also done some translation as well, and it really is like there's a little bit of like you said, like if there's something that just makes sense the way it is, you really do just put it the way it is. But I think if it is something that needs the context to it, you really do search for the words and things that culturally represent it as well, like in terms of the wording, and just try to give the understanding to the reader as like, hey, it's this word, but here's like the nuance with it as well. So finding that
Hmm.
is, like I said, a jigsaw puzzle, and but it is rewarding. Yeah, yeah. I was also kind of curious about your regular day. So is it just translating all day, like no breaks? Obviously, there's a break.
No
Yeah.
breaks.
Obviously, there's a
No,
break.
there are breaks.
Tom is not Tom is legal.
Tom
Yeah,
is legal.
so the way our team is set up is so we have a specific process. And honestly, a lot of I'm just so y'all know, Tom is kind of expensive when it comes to the translation team because we have a process that is guarantees quality. So the way it works is one of us will translate, and it's a native speaker translating, and then it goes to a check, and the check is performed by a Japanese speaker who knows English. So the checker, as we refer to them, will check that we've got all the kanji right, that we've got the nuances right, we've got the context right, and it's invaluable to have their input because sometimes, like especially when a mangaka is handwriting things, I'm like I cannot read their handwriting, especially like when it's like a scribble or there's just some things that we as people who did not grow up in Japan did not go through Japanese schooling, sometimes we're just not going to know the context of things,
Hmm.
and so having them is invaluable to making sure that it is a good quality translation that is faithful to what the original mangaka is saying. And then it's like if there's anything we specifically had to change for localization reasons, it's not a mistake. Like we've essentially we understand the nuance, and because we understand the nuance, we know why we had to change it. It's not being changed just to change. So then we do the edits there, and then it goes to the proofreader, which is essentially the other translator or another native English speaker, just to make sure that we've all this all grammatically correct. It makes sense because if you've been looking at the same piece for days and days on end, you're going to miss typos. You're going to something that looks normal to you might actually be like, I think you've actually like didn't conjugate this verb properly. So it goes through a bunch of stages, and so therefore I'm not constantly translating because sometimes I'm proofreading somebody else's work. But it is mostly translation, yeah, from beginning to end.
Oh, that's. I mean, you know what to expect every day. I know Haley and I we work on the customer support side of things, and also
Mhm.
media, obviously
Yeah.
with this. And every day is a journey through.
Yeah.
It's a new adventure.
It's a new adventure. Like it's an adventure through Tartarus. I had to cloak it
Yeah.
just a little bit. But like you said, I know that we kind of at Tom we pride ourselves, I think, in quality around the board, whether it's in our shipping or even like I said, like customer support. Like we might talk like, oh man, we have to do this, but we do take pride in it,
Right.
and obviously in translation we do as well. So even though the cost is a little bit more expensive, we try to guarantee is the best quality as possible all around the board. Like when it comes to other translating services and their rates, obviously you don't have to disclose any rates or anything, but I know that there's a lot of AI translation, like machine
Yeah.
translation, that's
Yeah.
being that's being done now, and there's a lot of companies in Japan specifically that are unfortunately interested in machine translated use. Is it, like in your opinion, like is there ever a use for it, or there are some cases where okay, like yeah, it's fine, yeah, like what were your thoughts on that topic?
Personally, am very against generative AI for the use of arts.
Okay.
In terms of translation, I can see the use of it for example, like a business contract and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I know some translators who use it for, especially like if they're freelance, they use it for emails and for scheduling things like that. Mm, I personally do not, uh, and I really don't like the idea of an AI using the like essentially doing dialogue, which is
Mm.
the bread and butter of a manga. I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me to have something so human as somebody's artwork where they sat down and they thought about it and they like went out of their way to do all these edits and went through their own artistic process for me to just put it into through a machine and instead giving it the time and respect that it deserves as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like at Tom we don't use AI at all. And that's also part of why we're more expensive. And the other thing we are expensive, well, another reason we are expensive is because we do have our own lettering team. So, excuse me. No, Manga publisher can hire us for both translation and lettering, so they can get the finished product straight from us and just be able to upload it to whatever they need. And but we're also, because we don't use AI and because lettering especially is such a time-consuming process, which AI, by the way, so far cannot replicate very well. We actually have been asked to test out some AI engines specifically for lettering, and they don't work. They don't,
Mm.
at least as at the time of when we use them, they don't. Were only recognizing, for example, speech bubbles that were circular. But they weren't recognizing the onomatopoeia, which at this point I'm sure it's probably gone a little better. But it was actually, in my opinion, using AI as created would create more work in a bad way because you have to check it and you have to fix it. And honestly, a lot of the times it is easier to just translate from scratch than to fix something that is either wrong or has been hallucinated or, just doesn't work.
Right. And just kind of going back on lettering, just to could you explain that just for anyone?
Yeah, so basically lettering is the process of putting the English into the manga image. So like any translation of a manga will have had like a letterer and like I believe the term is like redrawer. Don't I know them in Japanese, but yeah, so like, you have to take the Japanese out of the speech bubble and put the English there. You have to either redraw the onomatopoeia or just, put the English in a way that makes sense, essentially. So that's obviously an entirely different task from translation. And, so that's a different team, but we work very closely with them for obvious reasons.
Right, right.
Not all of our clients will have us ask us for lettering because some people do have their own in-house lettering teams. And then some people will ask us for lettering. It's just based on what their needs are as a company.
Okay. Okay.
Honestly, like I appreciate the fact like if I'm reading translated manga, it it feels more meaningful to know that there were like humans involved from start to finish, you
Mm.
Yeah.
know? It just makes it a better reading experience in my opinion.
And I was just going to say, like, it's one of those things where now I don't even think about, like, oh, is this done by, a person, or if it's done by a machine. It's something that I didn't think about, but now it's one of the things that unfortunately I have to think about.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's something I think obviously us as having gone through this cycle or going through it currently, it's something we have to teach to the younger, man, this is the younger generation, because I mean, honestly, that's the thing I worry about the most with AI, is the fact that it's so easy if you're growing up with it, and it just, like, we had to go through getting cell phones and then getting smartphones. But if you
Right.
already always had a smartphone, then there's no reason to think about what it was like before or what you had to do. It just is what it is, and so you use it, And for younger people, if they don't know, then they just start out by using it, and like, what's the difference? It's always sounded the same to me. It's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
what? So
And I think like it, at least the people in this podcast right now, like we're all artists. Like Adrian, you draw, and Haley also draws, but also like cross stitch it, or excuse me, crochets. I cross stitch on top of my own personal writing and things like that. So it's also like we have a vested interest in not using AI because we actively enjoy making art, and
Yeah.
understand the value of the process.
the process, the process
Process is important. It's
is
so important.
important.
That's where the
Like,
fun is.
that is where the fun is.
It's where the fun and all the hardship is. And I
Yeah.
was just thinking about, Haley and I were talking with the recent zine, and sometimes, some articles will write and it'll just be like, oh yeah, it's like flowing and it's like great. And then like other days of like, how's that one going? It's just there right now, but
Yeah.
I'm sure when I
The
come
writer's
back to
block.
it, yeah, the right, because it's real. But sometimes you have to think about what you're writing, and then there's a point where you overthink, and then there's a point where it's like, actually, this is what I want to say, or this is how I want to write it, and it just comes to you. But without that process, I don't think you get. I don't think you can get there. It's just, I don't know. There's just something about actually putting thought into something that makes it special, and knowing that, like you guys said, is just what makes us humans. What makes us us.
Right.
Terminator. I can't
Yeah.
identify with them or it or her. I don't know. God. But I guess kind of like moving towards wrapping it up a little bit in terms of the translation side. What advice would you give somebody who's interested in getting into translation?
First of all, definitely, just start messing around with translation like in your spare time. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to show it to anybody. You don't have to like put it out there, but just doing it like on your own, finding like some manga you want to translate, or a short story, or even like TV. Like that's how I started. Like Japanese TV like always has a ton of it's
Subtitles.
called it's called
Go ahead.
titopple, but yeah, subtitles essentially. Like, so I was translating those because a lot of it had like a lot of information. And so, just getting the hang of it and like finding one, your voice as a translator, as well as learning, like if you want to do manga, you have to know how to do like different character voices. Because you don't want everybody to sound the same, for example. So, just like anything else, it's like you just gotta practice. Find what you want to do, and like figure out how to practice. Like even if you like something that's been translated, like even if it's like One Piece or whatever. Like obviously we have official translations of One Piece manga, but you can go through it and be like, why did they translate this like this? Why was this localized like this? Learning or like trying to figure that out will also help you figure out the ins and outs of translation, I think. Just have fun. It's
Yeah.
it's a good
That's
time
Um
if you like it.
yeah.
One of the things that I used to do for like my translation practice was song lyrics,
Hmm.
which you
Mm.
get a lot of like really poetic turns of phrase. Like sometimes it's not really things that you might be able to use in everyday conversation, for example, but, you do get to, like, see really interesting ways in which the language can be used because people get really
Mm,
poetic with song lyrics, so that's
yeah.
also a
Yeah.
fun way.
Yeah, that's something that now that I think about it, I remember I used to, because I think a lot of us in some ways, when we hear music, especially like anime openings or ending songs that, they'll stick in our heads. And I know when I didn't know any Japanese, I used to try to sing them or like just
Mhm.
sound it out. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't even know what they're saying. And then I remember finding a site that had all the lyrics like just in Romanji and then like in hiragana and then translated into English. And that was the first time like I like even though I wasn't personally translating it, I was when I started to learn Japanese in college, I went back to that same site and I started looking at it like that's what this is. And then it became
Mm.
more than reading, it became like understanding with my reading and learning from it. So it's I think those when you have to understand something, especially like TV or dramas as well, you want every detail because you want to know what's actually happening. And then that, I think that's a driving factor as well. Um, yeah.
Right. And like, I'm a Gintama fan. There is genuinely no way to understand like all the jokes in Gintama without having the pop culture references either.
Mm.
So, getting into translation and translating a whole wide variety of things will also help you get more cultural knowledge and it'll make you a better translator and also it'll make Gintama so much funnier, which is incredible because it's already hilarious.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to just like fun questions. I know me and Haley were like, well, I was like, which one do we start out with? Is it the fun questions or do we end with fun? Haley's like, just fun questions at the end. Fun questions at the end.
Mhm. Fun
So
questions.
yeah, yeah. Haley, do you want to take these?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of segued into that already because we were going to ask you, like, what's your favorite manga and anime, and do you have any that you recommend?
I mean, Gintama is, the best. Though for my current favorite manga is Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun because it's just really cute and wholesome and it's just nice to wind down with after a long, long, long day of shoujo and BL manga. Because yes, I read manga to get away from my manga job.
It's a
Um
different input,
It is.
kind of.
I mean, to be fair, I do have to read my manga, like my fun manga. I have to get it like on paper because if I read digital manga, I get into work mode.
Oh, interesting.
So I actually like can't get read too much manga in my spare time because that's a lot of money and space for a small Japanese house. But so yeah, so I usually focus on one or two series at a time, and right now it's Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun, and Kemono Jihen are the 2 I'm mostly
Okay.
buying right now.
Is there an
Yeah.
English translation for Kimono Jihen? I don't.
There is actually, but it's
Oh, is
not caught
there?
up. Yeah. So highly recommend. It's completely different from Welcome to Demon School, but it's still teenagers getting into various kinds of trouble. But Kemono Jihen, Kemono Jihen is seinen, so it's much darker, and Irumakun is very cute.
You have like both the light and the dark mixed. So you have Kingdom Hearts, effectively. Okay.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow. Wow, dropping
Sorry.
a Kingdom Hearts reference.
Wow.
We're so close. There's going to be some news soon, right?
Oh my
Right?
goodness.
Right? I'm a
Oh,
believer.
you know what? We need hope in these dark times.
Yeah, somebody has to
We
have
do.
hope.
Someone has to have hope.
Um, all right, so this is probably a really difficult question, but who's your favorite character?
Of all time?
I mean, I suppose that's the implication, but okay, maybe who's your favorite character right now?
My favorite character right now. Well, if we're talking Welcome to Demon School, for example, it would probably be Asmodeus because he makes me laugh so hard. So he is essentially he's one of Iruma's best friends, but he's also very serious and takes his position of Shinyu, best friend, very, very seriously. And to the point that it's just ridiculous. In Kemono Jihen, it would be Kabane who's the main character because it's actually very similar as, but like in the other direction where he's kind of a homeschool kid in that he wasn't educated at all. So he takes things at face value and it gets him into very funny situations despite the darkness. So I guess that's where I'm at right now. I mean, also because I am also very excited for the next Ranma One Half remake series because it's one of my favorite arcs of all time as a Ryoga stan. So there's that too.
So you just like, dudes with good hearts.
Yeah, I like the good boys.
Wait a minute, isn't that what? Wait, hold on, hold on. Isn't that what everyone should like? But shouldn't we
I
all just
mean,
like good?
look,
Wait, what?
No,
well,
no.
No.
sometimes you like the bad ones, and that's okay too.
Can they be bad with a good heart?
That's a
Yeah,
different,
but that's a different category.
What?
yeah.
So so they can be bad with bad hearts and be good. Like I mean, like attractive. Like
No,
that's
so like yes, but also for example, the bad boy with a good heart, that's a tsundere, for example.
okay.
I'm not much of a tsundere fan. I'm much of the I like the like my favorite character for in Hiroaka, for example, is Kirishima. Like
Mm.
whereas my best friend's favorite character is more like who is her favorite character in Hiroaka? I don't actually know. But she likes the standoffish dudes who are actually like inside going like, "Oh, I love you, but don't talk to me. I'm troubled." That kind of guy. So,
Look, we could make this an entire episode
it
on its
on
own
its
because
own.
there are layers to it, man. There are layers.
Yeah,
That's
like,
the episode. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm just like it's like, you have the Naruto fans and you have the Sasuke fans and they're not
Now I understand it. Holy crap!
Yeah.
I just needed that reference. Now I get it.
We
I
just had to
understand it
speak your
now.
language.
Yeah.
But that would be like a really good podcast. Like I would just be on the producer side. I'd just be just listening to you guys talk about it. And then every once in a while I'm like, wait a minute. Is that okay? Thank you. And then I'm back
Yeah.
out. And then like, I guess the last question before we run out of time a little bit, but how has your taste in anime or manga changed since you were in high school or just like since you started getting
Yeah,
into
because
anime
you're also
manga?
like you're exposed to like a much wider variety of stuff, I imagine, with your job. So
Yeah, so I'm old. I have been into anime since approximately 1998. I bought VHSs in the mall with cash.
hell yeah.
So,
Dang.
so yeah. I actually still have the VHSs at my sister's house. She's like, I should get rid of them. I'm like, no. But yeah, no. So I did like I had like a bit of a hiatus just in college and stuff going through like life stages. But so essentially, I've been an anime fan for years. But my taste, I think I've gotten a lot more into comedy. When I was younger, I liked a lot of much, much darker shows like Yami no Matsue, or I think it's called Descendants of Darkness. X by Clamp is still one of my top favorites. Like I liked a lot of much darker things, and that still stands. Like in Kimono Jihen and like Black Butler, and like I do like still dark shows. But I also have gotten much more into the comedies and like the gags, and so it has gotten wider. As a result of my job, I actually am not a big fan of. I've lost a lot of my love for shojo because I used to love shojo, but because I get so much shojo at work it's very hard to enjoy it without kind of analyzing it and picking it apart now.
Mm.
Like, I still love the classics, Cardcaptor Sakura, Fruits Basket and stuff, but the new ones that are coming out, it's like hard for me to see it in just like an enjoyable way because again, I get so like right now, like I am enjoying Apothecary Diaries, but in the past month I've gotten 3 different volumes where the main character is a girl who has something to do with poison, Like, once
Got to follow
something
the
gets
trend.
popular
Yep.
exactly. Once something gets popular, the trends, follows that, and then it gets kind of dug into the ground for me, so that's an unfortunate side of the job, I suppose.
That makes sense in the sense that like I feel the same I honestly, when me and Haley talked about this too, when we had to ask ourselves, are we even fans? Are we even, do you still love
Yeah,
anime? We're just
Yeah, do
like,
we still love anime?
I think
yeah.
working at Tom somehow had like, and living in Japan, I think it's a combination of both, like being around the material so much and then knowing how parts of the business actually work. Like sometimes you can get kind of just like, oh, like I see what they're doing here and I don't want to see what they're doing. Like there's a new group that they introduced for Girls Band Cry. And I was like,
Oh
I
yeah.
really love that show. I actually really like that show. And I love like the music's fine, but the new group is for their mobile game and they
Mm,
have a more like the look is a little bit more generic in my eyes, and it's just one of those things like, oh, and they'll have a show, and I'm just like, okay, and then there's probably gonna be another one, and then eventually we have our next not Love Live, what's the other one?
Oh man,
Oh, it's like with the Poppin' Party, Bang
oh,
Dream.
Bang
Bang
Dream,
Dream.
yeah.
Oh, there you
Bang Dream,
go.
yeah, we'll have like another Bang Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Girls Band
mean, I
Party.
think I think the thing of it too is like when you live in Japan, it's like you have access to everything, which can be good and
Mhm.
bad. And like the downside is that like if you live overseas, for example, like the better stuff tends to get filtered over. So you tend to
Mhm.
see the
Yeah.
the cream of the crop essentially, like the really good stuff will make it over there and become popular. But here you kind of have to like wade through all of the maybe
You do.
not as the best quality things. You kind of have to like take the time to like really discern
Yeah.
what's good. And yeah, like when you're working every day and like sometimes you just don't have the time to do that.
Right. Like, for example, I actually learned Kimono Jihen not because I was like it came up at work or anything like that, but because I was just flipping channels.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, this looks cool," like when it was airing and I just happened to come across it. And that is one of the perks of like living here, but it also means like I'll come across anime and I'm like, "Oh, this we're making choices that I am not enjoying."
Yeah.
I was watching it was actually I think it was Apothecary Diaries that I was watching with a friend and maybe not Apothecary Diaries, it was something else. And they had a commercial break in it, of course. And she was like and she lives in the US and she was like, "Oh, it's funny that they're doing like the commercial break cliffhanger when we don't have commercials anymore." I'm like, "We do. These things are aired in Japan on regular TV."
They actually, yeah. There's a
Like,
there's a there's a commercial break. Yep, and sponsors.
Yeah,
Those
like
sponsors do actually sponsor the show.
right. Like it's still like you guys get it through streaming, but for us it's just on, channel 6 or whatever. So yeah, there is that. Like we've been here so long that it's just you get numb to certain things sometimes.
Yeah, it just becomes another day,
Mhm.
but
And
what's
I
not
always sound
another
all
day?
cynical.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna be like, man, how do I? Oh, well,
I mean, I will say, like, there is a lot of great anime now, just as much as there's a lot of like mid anime. It's just
there is. You have to find the balance, or you have to find. You have to look with anything. You just have to look for it. I think
right.
there's so many. There's like anywhere from like 30 to 60 anime a season, which
I
they need
so
to
I
cut that down.
actually I actually
Jeez.
translate the anime industry report and the industry is making the maximum number that is possible for the scale of the Japanese market, which is 340 a year.
Uh,
that's wild.
So
that's
there's 340 different anime coming out a year.
That's basically like you can like an anime per day, like almost. That's an
my
entire year.
goodness. Like when you look at and just to wrap it up a little bit, but like when you look at the credits, I encourage everyone to look at the credits for just
Mhm.
the each anime. You'll see just how many of these studios are actually working on another studio's like second production
Mhm.
of something you thought was, oh, they did all the animation. No, there's like three or four studios, and not even including like the outsourced studios and like in
Right.
Taiwan or in China or in Korea or something like that. So I mean, it really does take a huge team. Well, not even it's not huge, but it takes a lot of people in a weird way.
Mhm.
A lot of small teams working together to make one anime, and then each episode, and have that be something that goes, and then they kick right into the next gear, for
Mhm.
the next season. So It just never stops, which is wild.
So basically pay our animators.
Yep.
Pay them well.
Pay your animators.
Let them rest.
That's our closing. Pay your animators.
Pay our
animators. Pay your translators.
Yeah.
Pay our singers and artists.
Yes.
And pay Tom. This is how I segment into the next part. If you have some shipments that you have been waiting on shipping, specifically in the U.S., that have been pending by suspension, just because Japan Post has not been shipping to the U.S. Recently for the past year, we have a new self-change shipping method. I hope I said that right. You can change your shipping method yourself from your orders page if that item is in stock. So go ahead, go check your orders page if you're in the US and you have an item shipping from our Japan warehouse. And if you've been waiting on it and you know that it has released, just go ahead and check that function out. It'll be on the orders page underneath your order itself, the shipment. It's a pretty simple checkout process. You can choose the shipping method, and it'll show you the price along with the tariffs that are in there, all as one. And then you just pay it, and a few days later, depending on the method, it should ship out to you. Yeah. So that's good. Also, Tom Week is coming up, I believe, early April. By the time this podcast goes up, Tom Week should be up. So check that out for some deals. And of course, as part of the Tom Week, Hayley, myself, and a wonderful contributing writer that I think you've been seeing if you've been checking out Tom News. We've had a lot of cool articles that go up every week. Just examining just little things about the anime and culture. But yeah, we'll have a new Tom zine. So it's a really good Tom zine.
Yeah, check it out. They work really hard on it.
There's cats. And you can't say no to cats.
There's so many cats. There's so many cats in this one.
Really, when I saw the cover, I was like,
yeah,
my heart melted.
It's a good cover. Yeah, because cats,
it's a great cover.
As far as the eye can see.
There's so many cats. I'm like, I'm seeing cats. And speaking of cats, Hayley, I saw that one cat that's always near my place sometimes. Well, not always, but it walked back again. I saw it and I was like, how do I get you to stay? It's a stray cat and it just keeps wandering and I don't know how to I want to help it, but I don't know how.
Get some chudu. Get some chudu.
Just hold it out and just be like, yo, come get this.
We both, Hayley and I, have a lot of experience with the cat distribution system, so we will sit down and discuss this with you.
Yes, I want that cat to have a home.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and also follow us on our socials and leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you may be listening to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a like on the video, and we hope you have a wonderful life. But please come back next month.
Yeah. A good month.
Have a good month until we see you again.
Enjoy your month.
Thanks for listening.
And thank you, Massiel, for being on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. Till next time, next month, we will catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.